age, we also accumulate things. Furniture, travel memorabilia, files, hobby materials you haven't used in years, and at some point we know we have to do something about it all, but choose to put it off for another time. I'm Ginny Robinson. My guest today is Lorelei Taylor, who will help us wade through the daunting process with specific strategies to help us. Lorelei is a member of the East County Action Network and chair of the San Diego County Aging and Independence Services Advisory Council. She teaches classes in estate planning and in assisting seniors in staying in their homes. Welcome, Lorelei.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're delighted to have you. I know you're a busy realtor, and I appreciate that you had the time to come today, but I want to know how a realtor got involved with Rightsizing, and what is Rightsizing?
Rightsizing. Well, how I got started in it is I've had an interesting career arc. I started off in the 80s and 90s doing antiques and became a certified antiques appraiser, went through to design work and then into real estate development. And then from my family experience, started cleaning out and cleaning up and helping other people and neighbors who asked me to help. So that's how I got into it. And then right-sizing is what I like to call, what we usually call downsizing. But downsizing to me sounds sad, final. I think right-sizing is a lot more fun and reframes how we look at those tasks.
Good. All right. So when is the best time? I mean, I'm of a certain age, and I'm starting to think, oh boy, do I have a lot of junk. But when would you say is the best time to do that?
I think, well, of course, the best time is if you're not in a crisis. And sadly, that's when I get a lot of phone calls from people who have had a crisis situation. And we had that in my own family. Mom, we lost her very suddenly, and we had 2 houses to deal with, and we did it in crisis mode. So when you're before when you start thinking about what does my next life look like, reframing that, do it then and start in small steps is the best way to start.
All right, so where do you start?
Well, what I like to suggest to people is that they think about what they want their next life, if you will, to look like. Do I want to stay in my present home where I've raised my family? Do I want something perhaps without stairs as I age? Perhaps I might end up on wheels, or you might have a family member who's going to live with you who might be in wheelchair bound. And think about the physical parts of it. Maybe you want to move to a different climate or area to be near your children or family. So start thinking at that point.
Okay, and I guess get input and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But boy, that's the hardest part, I guess, is that first step.
It is.
Yeah, and so then you have to try to, who do you get advice from? I mean, who can help you with that?
Well, there's different layers of help. There could be your family members. Sometimes they're very helpful. Sometimes they can be a challenge. If you'll have, somebody that might have their needs before your needs, their children, say, or a relative. You can also get professional help with an estate planner, an estate attorney, which is different than a trust attorney, a financial planner, so you can plan ahead your finances. That's a good place to start before you start making decisions.
About selling your home and that sort of thing.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, but there's probably some steps before that. I mean, if you're just going to stay in your home, you don't probably have to get too much professional help, right?
Not really. It depends on if you have a great amount of contents. Say you have a lot of antiques, and that's where I do help quite a few people on appraising the value of the contents of their home. Maybe they want to give away something, but then it's like they discover it's worth a lot of money. If we watch Antiques Roadshow, we learn that there can be some prizes in our closets.
That's right. That's right. So then that brings in family, not just immediate family, but sometimes cousins or younger people that might be interested, whereas people your age, my age, don't want my stuff. They already have too much stuff.
Right.
So tell me about that, about getting family involved.
Absolutely. When you are thinking about dispersing your items, and that's sometimes the bad news, is they don't want your stuff. Like my children, I have a lot of antiques and things I've inherited, and my daughters are like, well, that's really pretty, Mom, and we enjoyed growing up with it, but we don't want it. No, thank you. So then it's shifting up, do I donate it? Do I sell it? Do I find extended family members who might want it. Perhaps there's a cousin who share a grandmother or great grandmother, and you say this was her dresser. Would you like to have it? So you can kind of get outside your immediate circle of people to share things with, or you just try to liquidate it and get it appraised if you need to, and then you know what it's worth.
Yeah. Okay, so then where do you start in actually taking your house and trying to move it somewhere else or whatever? Where do you go from there?
Right. It is, you have to be strategic. If you are moving to a different sized house, of course, you need to get rid of things so that it all fits. Or if you're just staying in place, aging in place is lovely too, if that's your desire, and you can make it happen. Is just kind of thinning the herd. Maybe start with a closet to clean out. And then figuring out what means something to you, and like we said, giving things away to family members. That a good way to start with that is just have a family meeting and say, I'm thinking of getting rid of, half of my items, whether I'm staying or moving, and asking around, that type of thing. And there's certain strategies to follow in more detail on how to do that, as far as having people, your children or cousins, make a list of, hey, Aunt Bessie had this picture. Is it still around? I'd love to have that as a remembrance.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
so you can do that like email or whatever.
Exactly.
Instead of having everybody there under, quick, we have to decide who's going to take this.
Yes.
Because that's what happened to us with my mother, and was photographs were thrown away, and things that we later said, gosh, if we had only had time to just all be able to say, this is kind of the things that I would like, instead of just giving it all to Goodwill or whatever, because you're in a hurry.
Yes.
And that happens a lot, I think.
It does. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly.
Which then some people go, well, I'm afraid to get rid of it because I don't want to make a mistake. So giving it your best effort is a good idea. But there does come a time where a lot of people will, and I'm guilty of this too, is use that as a reason to procrastinate.
Yeah.
I'll think about this later, fiddle-dee-dee.
Right.
And then you're stuck with all the stuff.
Well, especially the big stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But now closets, I know it sounds like simple, but oh my, it's not. I mean, I'm picturing one closet where we just put everything. We don't know what else to do with it.
Right.
And if I were to start going through there, some of it's really old historical family stuff, and yet I doubt that anybody in my, that wants it now, because people don't save that stuff.
Right.
So you have to decide, yikes, do I wait until I die and they can throw it away, or do I mean, because it's so valuable to you.
Absolutely.
And yet to them it's not that. People just don't save stuff anymore.
Right, yeah. And thankfully in our digital world, with photographs and documents and letters, scanning those things, having a service do that for you. There are services out there. And that way everything's digitized. I scanned a whole lot of travel slides that my dad took, and then I put them on CDs and then shared them with my siblings, so everybody has a set and can look at it.
That's so great.
That's a nice idea in our digital world that we have now.
That's true.
Instead of you get this, you get that, you get this, everybody it's a copy of everything.
Right, that's true. And the same thing, we did that with my mother's stuff. She had written some memories of the town we grew up in for the church or something, and so we made copies for everybody. So they had something to go by. And plus the genealogy, make copies for everybody, because the one that doesn't want it may have it, and then they throw it away and you don't have it. So it's just make copies anyway.
Exactly.
And give it to people.
That's a great idea.
So so then how do you make that decision? Do I keep it? Do I throw it away? Do I give it to Goodwill? If you're not in a hurry, like now in my life, I could start with one section of one closet, I suppose. Start throwing away clothes I haven't worn in 5 years, that sort of thing.
Yes.
But I guess you make 3 piles, or what?
Yeah. Actually, when I do an estate clean out, because sometimes I'll just be retained to do a clean out, say Aunt Bessie has moved to care and their family will retain me, I set up, and you can make this large scale or small scale, is I set up a sorting center with a table. I have a black contractor bag that I get at Home Depot, the big thick mill ones, and then a clear one. Trash goes in the black bag, and donatables go in the clear bag. And my discipline every day when I'm on site is the trash goes out every day on my way out of the site, and the donatables get picked up several times, so it's not compiled. And in your own home, that's a nice way. If you just every week on Monday, I'm going to take this box to Goodwill type of thing. And then you're breaking it down into manageable tasks. And then pretty soon, a couple weeks go by, and oh, look, that closet is now empty. I have 3 sorted bins in here that are now labeled that I bought at the dollar store. They have great bins with snap-on lids that you can label and sort your things. And then look, now I have 3 bins on the top shelf and a few coats and a vacuum cleaner. I'm good.
And I don't miss anything that I gave away.
Exactly.
That's usually the feeling.
It's like, did I have that once? Yes,
Yeah.
I do that, yes.
Yeah.
I think back in the past I had one of these. And
Yeah.
it went away, and guess what? I don't miss it.
I know, but
Yeah.
but then you have a husband that says, "Oh no, I don't throw that away."
Yes.
His shirt that some girlfriend gave him in 1963.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, oh, well, sorry. Sometimes it's good to maybe have somebody else, if you have that person in your life, survey what you're getting ready to and do a quick sort. When I'm helping a family do a clean out, I will ask them to please go through and remove anything. I have had families from, I just had one from Holland, Michigan, and I cleaned out their aunt's house. And I would just take pictures of things. Hey, this looks like it could be something
that's
special. So I was taking photos and then emailing them to them and say, is this special? And they'd say, yes, no, maybe so. And so that, it is a process. But the important thing is to keep going. Don't say, okay, I'm going to come back to this in a month, because then you have a mess, and then you piles on your mess, and that's not productive.
Yeah, having Goodwill come every week
Yes,
or every 3 days. I
Right,
don't know.
Yeah, well, or sometimes I've cleaned out hoarder houses, and we have a 40-yard dumpster and shovels, and
Wow.
so it's very scalable. The work we do for
Oh
people.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. So, should you, if you have family come in and sit with you while you're going through this, if you're the mother of daughters or whatever,
Right.
Does it complicate it or does it make it better?
It can. It depends on the family dynamics and people's emotional attachments to things, and if the person is gone, and so that heightens the emotions.
Sure.
So if you are all your family's intact, that's a great time to do it. What I suggest is sometimes asking say you have 3 kids, asking each child to just write down a list of things they remember that means something to them, and then having them kind of turn in their list and then go away. And then I, as the mom, would say, oh, look, Susie wants this, but Julie wants that. Oh, great. But if Susie and Julie both want something, then I just kind of equalize it with other things. And what you have to be mindful of some things that were very valuable and you leave them to somebody else, they're not valuable anymore. So they kind of get hosed in that regard. So something to be mindful of. What a lot of people will do is give each person Post-it notes. And my mom tried this. And you put your name on it and you put it on the back of things you want. Well, then another sibling or niece would come through and move them. So I like the idea of making a list that if you're liquidating or I'm liquidating, I keep custody of. And then that way nobody can have any shenanigans to sweeten the pot for themselves.
Yeah, well, I think your mother and my mother went to the same school because we also did that, and I think that that was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we had Post-its, we had 3 Post-its on some things. So because
Yeah.
nobody removed it, but we had
that's
3
good.
Post-its on
Yeah,
one thing.
yeah.
So then it came time to distribute it, and
Right.
all 3 of us said, no,
Yeah.
don't want it now because it's a bowl this big and it's
Right.
beautiful, it's from China and all
Oh,
that, but
yeah.
where are you going to put it
Exactly.
now that you're trying to downsize yourself? So,
Right.
oh, it's so hard to give
Yes,
those things away,
It
but
is.
you just have to, I guess.
Yes.
And then when nobody wants it, you feel guilty,
Of course.
and then you just have to give it, turn away and call up Goodwill.
Right. Or try to liquidate. Sometimes, if it's of some value, sometimes there's some great online auctions too. And what I've decided with some of the things that I've gotten rid of that my girls don't want is I want it to go to someone who will love it and appreciate it and care for it and use it, and rather than just maybe going in a trash bin. There's some companies that'll come up, kind of junk collecting companies or clean out companies, and it does go into dumpsters. So I like to take control of the item and know that it's going to go, if I perhaps sell it on an online auction type of thing, whoever's going to collect it is going to love it. And I love that
Now,
because then
are you talking eBay?
eBay, yeah, eBay, and there's a long list now. Everything but the house, First Dibs, Cherish. There's no shortage of ways to get rid of things.
Those are websites.
Those are, yes, online auctions. And the neat thing about online auctions is that all you need are two people who want it. A lot of people will say, well, I don't know if I'll get what it's worth. I don't know what it's worth. And that's okay sometimes, because if two people know what it's worth and want it, then you start with a low opening bid and they bid it up until its value is what someone's willing to pay for it. And if you have an international audience, chances are two people might want that, and they'll bid it up for you, and then things will go a lot higher than you think. And you know, oh, that's nice.
That's nice.
Right.
But you can also say, hey, I'm just happy somebody wants it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So especially if it's like a hobbies, paintings and things like
Yes.
that are hard to put a price on unless it's
Yes.
a famous artist.
Oh, right.
And you just say, well, if I get $20 for it, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But then you have to package it and mail
Yes.
it, and that's
Yes.
a lot of people don't want to do that.
Exactly, yeah. And there have been people that you can hire retain to do that for you.
Oh.
There are those services out there that they'll come in and basically sell it on consignment. There's also consignment shops that you can turn your things over to, and they sell it for you and you split the profit.
And how easy is that? Because I get this picture of you give it and you wait 20 years until they finally sell
right.
it.
Most of the consignment shops will have like a 90-day window. And after the item's been there 30 days, they'll reduce it. And after it's been there 60 days, they reduce it again. And if it's been 90 days, you can come and take it back, which is not the best solution, but you have that option rather than or they will donate it, or they will just mark it down or accept an offer.
Got it.
So it depends on the quality of the item and the quantity of what you're getting rid of. Sometimes just a good old-fashioned estate sale is a good way to liquidate, quickly.
A big garage sale for the neighborhood kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you have people that will handle that for you.
Yes, we do that too. We'll have an estate sale, and the beauty of that is making sure you have someone who knows what these items should be priced at, rather than selling something that should maybe go for $5,000 and you didn't realize it.
Right.
That the bigger problem is people usually think it's worth a lot more than it is.
Oh, yeah.
And so pricing to meet that need too can be challenging.
Right. But in San Diego we have a lot of people that do that.
Oh yes, yes. There's quite a few companies that will liquidate for you on your behalf.
Good to know.
Yes.
And Craigslist.
Yes.
Craigslist, you don't have to send it in the mail because
Correct.
they'll come and
Correct.
meet you in the driveway.
Right, yeah, or you can meet them in a neutral place if you feel better. Facebook actually just came out with a good service, Facebook Marketplace. And then that way you can kind of check up on the person that you're connecting with who wants to buy your goods, because you can look at their profile. That's another layer of protection. You do have to be careful, especially seniors who are vulnerable and maybe be home alone and trusting, maybe too trusting of people. It's just exercise caution.
Right.
Or have someone do it with you or for you.
Right. Have somebody with you when the person comes to the house.
Yeah. Or meet them. In fact, I think La Mesa Police has a parking spot in their parking lot that you can go there, and when you say to someone, and I'll do this when I'm liquidating, great, I will meet you at the La Mesa Police Department in the parking lot at the exchange thing. And if I hear it click, I know somebody's up to no good. And that's happened.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so you can go to a library parking lot, the local McDonald's or Starbucks, or your police station or sheriff's station. I'll meet you at the sheriff's station if somebody's up to no good.
Yeah.
You'll find that out very quickly.
I guess so. Does San Diego have that parking space?
I don't know that because my office is in La Mesa.
Yeah,
so
La Mesa is so good about
I
that
know,
sort
they're
of
so
thing.
forward thinking, and I love that.
So how do you do time management with this? I mean, okay, you have to figure out how much time you actually have.
Right.
And some people have infinite, and I can take 5 years because we're not in a hurry. So.
And then procrastination happens. I suggest to people that they set a goal, like say, and maybe they have a lot of time or think they do, say in a year I will have my house cleaned out, and then or 6 months or a month. Then you reverse engineer it back to today. So say you have 7 rooms in your house and you're going to do this in 7 months. So you don't dedicate a month for each room. and then work backwards that way.
Do you
And
actually put it on the calendar?
actually, yes. I suggest people get a notebook or a workbook or a yellow pad, and then I'll even sit with them and do that if we're going to work on it together. And we write down, this week I will do this, this, and this, whether it be having a sorting station set up in that room. And I also suggest that they work like a clock around the room. You pick a corner, and that's 12 o'clock, and you just literally work around the room, clean out every cupboard, clean out the drawers, get rid of this little dresser if you don't use it anymore, and literally work around the room. That way you can stay on track, and you don't get as easily distracted by, oh, now I'm going to go over here. You actually literally, and that's how I work through a house. I work through room by room and then circular through the room. It sounds very simple, but it's an effective way of staying on track.
Well, plus, if you're not disciplined, I know that is so difficult.
Yes.
You start with this drawer and you go, oh, wait a minute, there's something in the other room, and oh my
Yes.
gosh, look at this drawer. And then you start with that drawer, and then you
Yes.
get, oh my, you could just go crazy.
Absolutely, and that's why having a schedule or at least a plan of attack written down. And there's something to me about writing things down, then you can go back to it and go, oh, I need to go back on track. And I can get distracted very easily. It's not even in my own home, but if I'm working on a project on site, I'll get
Right.
distracted. So it's like, okay, I've got to go back to this. And it's being resolute. And then as soon as you see some after effects that are very positive, then you'll get excited.
That's
Excited about. I have people call me and go, guess what? I just completed that entire dining room. And it's
Or I
like,
can
oh,
see the
yeah.
floor in the corner of
Exactly.
this room that I haven't been able to.
Exactly. And that's what propels people forward
Right.
and helps keep them on track.
Now, I would imagine there's some things that take a lot longer than others, like photographs.
Yes.
Whereas Christmas decorations, they take up a lot of space, but you can just go here, you know?
Exactly.
But some things, files,
Yes.
like where do you even begin? You've got to
Yes.
shred
Yes.
usually tons of years that you've collected because they're not necessary.
Absolutely. If someone's, say, moving to independent living, I will suggest that they get some of those banker boxes at the office supply store and set those up. And if you do run across a file, set them in there. And if you're sitting down in the evening with your glass of iced tea and you need to physically just sit, that's where you maybe can sort through those files and have a shred bag. When our mom passed away, we had a shredding truck come because we had 60 years of paper goods, of bank statements and such. So we had a shredding truck come on site, and it was only about $100, but he shredded boxes and boxes. Or you can take it to FedEx Kinko's or some of those places, and they will securely shred. My attorney has told me to keep everything from 7 years to now, the last 7 years. Anything beyond that, you can get rid of your records.
Yeah.
And then same with photographs, is putting those in boxes. If you are moving to, say, independent living, take those boxes with you. I don't propose you take a lot of stuff like that with you, but that's something you can sort later, and it will derail your project. If you sit and say, oh, I'm going to go through this, and then 6
Right.
hours have gone by and you didn't work in that room.
Right.
So having small things that don't take up a lot of room, like papers and photos, set them over there and take them with you and sort later.
Great idea. But 7 years? No, but you were not talking MasterCard receipts, things like that.
No, taxes.
Taxes.
Taxes are important.
And legal papers and
Right,
that sort of
right.
thing.
Yeah, and those things you might want to have, and especially if you're moving, you might want to open a safe deposit box at the bank and have them in a secure place so they don't get lost.
Right.
Because there's nothing worse than moving in a new place and, oh, where's my will?
Right.
That's not good.
Right. Where's that key for the keys? I mean, there's
Oh,
something
right.
that you
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
make sure you don't lose.
Yes.
Okay, and then so the important papers are taken care of later, and you handle the things that are big and cumbersome and that you really know you're not
Right.
going to want. And if you need professional help, you can call up all kinds of people in San Diego, La Mesa, and
Absolutely.
around us, which is very, very,
Yes.
it's nice to live in a big county, big area like we do.
It is.
But what are the benefits to people? I mean, at the end of it all, when you're finished, do you tend to feel better or worse?
I think I've never had anyone at least and I stay in touch with my clients. I've never had somebody say, oh, I'm so sad that I did this. everybody's like, oh, thank goodness we did this. And we did it now because then perhaps a health issue arises or a family member needs their help or they have to go back east to help someone. Their things are in order. And that frees them up to travel. A lot of people will use excuses not to do the things in their later years that they'd like to do because they're so encumbered with these. The stuff takes up a huge amount of emotional feelings and physical space and emotional space, if you will. So having it gone, it frees us up to go do the things we want to do and have a passion for, instead of, oh, I've got to sort through this. I want to go on a trip to Ireland. Oh, I've got to do this first. No, do it and then go to Ireland, and boy, you enjoy that trip so much more. Because when you come home, you walk into either a new place or your place is cleaned up and out. So you can enjoy those years while you can. That's important.
Now, your dad has experienced that, and he is now living in a different place. And does he feel unencumbered and no baggage anymore?
Very much so, yes. In fact, Dad and I live together. He's 90 now, and thank goodness he's relatively healthy and takes care of himself. I just run the house, and we're kind of roomies. We kind of call it Golden Girls, but not without the good clothes. But and yes, we sold their house that I grew up in, and then have this house. It's smaller, and he's very comfortable and contented.
Good.
And I love that.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So you do antique liquidation, is that what you call it?
Appraisal and liquidation, yes.
And you also help people to find places to live.
Absolutely.
And what else?
Well, that's what we help
paperwork.
them. Yeah, yes, a lot of the paperwork. Like right now, I've got a few people that are thinking about moving to independent living because it's a good time to sell, as you know, the values of houses. We can help them make those determinations if it's good, and they have a financial planner help them with that. We can get them in touch with someone if they need that help. And then also some people would like to stay in their home, but maybe they can't afford it. So because of the county has just changed permitting to permit for additional dwelling units. So say someone wants to stay on their street, on their property, they can build a little casita in their yard, rent out their big house and stay in their property. Or the reverse, they can, if they want a caregiver to come stay there, they can have something built in or on their house. There's lots of options now, so we do help them sit and figure that out.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And so how can someone contact you?
Oh, well, I have my cell phone at the ready, and my number is 619-933-2251. Again, that's 619-933-2251. And I email, it's Lorelei@LorelaiTaylor.com. And my website is LorelaiTaylor.com.
That's easy to remember.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lorelei, thank you so
It's
much.
my
We learned a whole
pleasure.
lot.
Oh, I hope so.
And we're going to have you come back.
Oh, I'd be
because
delighted.
we have lots more to talk about.
Oh, I'd be delighted.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.